This is Deuce Loosely, Devil's favorite advocate, and you're not. Anyway, how you doing? Um, the next few weeks or so, I think for the next few weeks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record my pieces about some things that the main group at FTW Podcast won't be discussing on their recordings, on their live recordings or whatever, because they'll be looking into other things. They're going to cover like Lucha Underground mainly for this coming week, which is going to be interesting. And it's a good thing they're getting on this early because they're only 5 episodes in, and this is fast becoming a big deal. And rightly so, because Lucha Underground is a good show. If you haven't checked it out yet, go look into it. It's on the El Rey Network, and if you don't get the El Rey Network, you can probably find episodes on YouTube. So, whatever you do, you owe it to yourself to go out there and check out Lucha Underground. And stop bitching about Raw sucking so bad. Go do a new program. Pick up a new show. Lucha Underground is a good bet. Especially now since TNA is going to be spending the next month recapping the past year. Well, for the next 2 weeks anyway. And then for the other 2 weeks in December, they're going to be recalling the best moments overall with TNA on Spike. Since they're moving to Destination America, which is part of the Discovery Network. Good for them. It's about time. And I'm more than happy that they're finally getting back on the horse. So anyway, I want to get to right now, and I wanted this to be discussed on the main podcast, but like I said, they had other plans, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this out there, and I think the only people who can honestly disagree are the WWE sheep, or the WWE fanboys. Those people who will blindly follow WWE into anything that they lead them into. Because right now things are looking really dismal for those guys. And there are many things that are killing them right now. Never mind the shitty episodes of Raw. Never mind the crap that they keep putting on TV. Never mind the fact that they can't focus because they have way too many hours of programming to plan for on TV. Never mind the quality curve having flatlined ever since the WWE Network opened. Let's take a look at some of the things that are plaguing WWE, not the least of which is the network, the financial sinkhole that is the network. This thing is killing WWE, much like the XFL did. I will not be convinced that the WWE Network is going to do any better than the XFL did. Like many of Vince McMahon's ideas, they look good at the beginning, but the more people look into them, and the more people inspect them, and the more people investigate and take a look into what they're offering, people just become less enthused about it, and they kind of shy away from it. They're just like, nah, I changed my mind. I don't, this kind of sucks. Make it go away. The only thing that the network has going for it is NXT, which is something else that's kind of, weighing down WWE, but I'll get into that in a minute. The network is a horrible idea. The execution has been horrible. The programming sucks. And just basically, Vince is looking at cutting the budget yet again in an effort to keep the network afloat. And speaking of the budget, How about those stock prices? How about Wall Street? What do you think of that? I mean, the stock value just keeps digging deeper and deeper into the bargain basement. Investors and the investors in WWE must be tearing their hair out right now because the stock value has gone down so much. I am predicting at some point in the future they are going to go back to being a private company because this public trading thing is just not working out. And the financial end is just part of the problem. There are other things too that are making the news. Recently, recurring allegations of racism behind the scenes have come up again, and Triple H is in the middle of it, and Alberto Del Rio was pretty much the spark that lit the fuse yet again on this issue because WWE, rather than doing something about the person who was making the racist comments about, I guess it was concerning Latino wrestlers or whatever. Rather than addressing that issue, they fired Alberto Del Rio. So, way to go, WWE. Way to go. Way to be logical. Way to use your common sense there. Kind of makes your Be a Star anti-bullying campaign kind of hypocritical. I honestly don't know why they're still doing that, or if they're still doing that. They really need to stop because firing Alberto Del Rio for standing up to somebody who was making those racist remarks, that doesn't look good. Doesn't look good in any light. So, hypocrisy, I guess you could pile that on top of the racism. How about these other wrestling feds that are coming up and establishing TV deals? Let's take a look at what I am predicting is going to become a global territory network. Because if you look at it right now, wrestlers are traveling back and forth between companies, between countries. They are testing the waters in different places because they're free agents. And they are looking for somewhere to settle in and be comfortable and do their thing. And, fit in where they do best. Right now, we have AAA or, Lucha Underground, either way you want to put it, but there's that. There's TNA, there's IGWP, there's New Japan, there's Wrestle One, also in Japan, Global Force Wrestling, which, we need to hear more about or see more from. There's Ring of Honor, there's House of Hardcore, hell, even NXT is outshining WWE in pretty much every way. NXT should just be its own product because the guys, at least half the guys on that show are ready to be called up, but they're not. They're stuck. They are floundering in NXT because they're not being called up. They're ready. They don't need any more development. The WWE needs these guys. They need more guys to be called up. And it's not happening. Instead, they're repackaging the mid-carders and the retreads that they have on the main roster right now. Those guys that aren't really working out, doing anything else, this is what WWE is working with. Rather than the guys that they have spent so much money on this development facility or whatever they call it, they've spent so much money investing in NXT, yet they're not doing anything with it. They're leaving it on the back burner of the WWE network, which is pretty much the only thing the network has going for it is NXT. So you can guarantee that NXT, in terms of ratings, is only getting fewer than 700,000 viewers, if they all tune in during the initial broadcast. So the network is not doing NXT any favors. WWE is not doing NXT any favors. These guys would be better served to take off, to quit, leave where they're at because they're ready. They've been ready, and go somewhere that will use them, that will put them in the spotlight. But WWE isn't doing this, and they don't seem to recognize what they have. And they obviously don't recognize the groundswell that is, going to eventually swallow them up. Because all of these other feds that I mentioned, there's others out there. There are many others out there, and they're waiting. I mean, there are feds out in Britain, there are in India, in Mexico, there are more in Japan. They're all over the world, all over the place. And the more WWE sticks to the island that they have built for themselves and ignores what's going on in the rest of the world, they are pretty much burying themselves, and they're pretty much eating themselves alive. It's kind of like inbreeding, You kind of have to diversify the gene pool if you want any variety, and and WWE is going to be hard pressed to tap into that global territory network. I swear, it's going to happen. Watch. It's happening already, and not in any actual official capacity, but you can see it. The way that wrestlers are going back and forth between these places. And it's going to happen more and more often. So you keep a watch on that. And finally, this has to be the final straw because, at least for now, until the next final straw, CM Punk recently did an interview with Colt Cabana in a scathing indictment of the rotten practices that are going on behind the scenes at WWE, including finances, booking, and especially medicine. I mean, if you are a trainer backstage at WWE misdiagnosing a staph infection, you need to be fired. You need to have your license yanked. You need to be sent back to school or something because, according to the outside doctor that they finally used, he said that this thing almost killed him. It could have actually killed CM Punk. And the WWE physician, he didn't do anything. He didn't do squat. He didn't know what was going on. So that was just one thing. Ryback was another thing, and that's another, big part of the issue. Ryback being a source of some of CM Punk's injuries that he'd been carrying around for a long time. Ryback, who has probably not improved at all since CM Punk left. He's probably still stiff as hell in the ring. He's probably still injuring guys that haven't spoken up about it yet, or he's about to injure somebody. The odds are, the probabilities are building up to it. I'm just waiting. It's a matter of time, but Ryback just needs to step back and shut up, because anything he says beyond this point is just going to damage his credibility and reputation further. Vince McMahon was said to have been upset but not fuming over this interview. And Triple H was said to have texted one of his people that he wants to kill CM Punk about some of the remarks that he made about him. So the higher ups are noticed. They've noticed, and they know that this is happening, and they really can't ignore the attention that this interview has received. It was a 2-hour interview. It was on Colt Cabana's well-known Art of Wrestling podcast, and Stone Cold Steve Austin is supposed to conduct an interview with Vince McMahon after Raw tonight. And if Stone Cold is half the guy that we think he is, if he is half the, no holds barred interview that he is supposed to be, he even said that he wants to know what the deal is. He wants to know what's going on, and he's going to ask Vince some serious questions, and Vince needs to own up. Vince needs to answer to these, allegations and these, accusations and whatnot. He needs to answer to all of this. And if he decides to sweep it under the rug, it's going to make him look guilty. If he decides to pass it off with a bullshit answer, that's going to make him look guilty. So if he comes with nothing short of the truth, an honest account or whatever, it's going to look bad. So, I don't subscribe to the network myself. I could spend my money better in other places. But I'm kind of interested to know how this interview is going to go. So hopefully we get some light shed on that. There's a lot more to discuss in terms of current events with WWE. One of which is Brock Lesnar, and I'm going to save that for another recording, probably a little bit later this week. But for now, all I'm going to say, in terms of the current state of the WWE, it's looking grim. It is looking like dark ages for them right now, and if I were Triple H, I would take that golden shovel hanging on my wall and stop trying to bury talent with it and start digging yourself out of the grave that you're currently spinning in.